Okay, so I usually don't make videos like this, with me talking into a microphone and gameplay going on in the background, mostly because I hate them, but I feel like I need to make an exception for Days Gone because this is one of the most underrated games that I've played in quite some time. Unfortunately, I wasn't recording most of it while I was playing it. I wasn't expecting to do any sort of review, I was just expecting to play it and move on with my life. I just finished it, and I have to say I was pleasantly surprised with the overall experience that I had. And I think it's really unfortunate that there are some reviewers out there who don't seem to be giving this game much of a chance. When I first saw the E3 trailer, I'll admit I wasn't too interested in it, and I thought, oh, it's just another zombie game. But I was kind of intrigued when I initially saw how many zombies were able to be on the screen at once, and how tense it looked fighting the hordes. So when it was released, I thought, you know what? I just want to shoot some things. It seems interesting enough, I suppose. So I went out to my local game store and got it. And I wasn't expecting to actually beat it. I was just expecting to kill some time. But holy shit, I platinumed this thing. Yesterday, I just platinumed it. And I never, ever do that with games. That's such a rarity for me. That's how much fun I had with Days Gone. Yeah, it's a little rough around the edges, but I'll get to that in a little bit. When you first start up the game, the main character, Deacon St. John, seems a little generic, but as the time goes on, you really get to learn this guy's backstory. You learn how empathetic he becomes. He has a great arc by the end of the game, and you really learn to fall in love with this guy. The supporting cast around him is also fantastic. Every character, well, almost every character is extremely memorable. While the story can range from just meh to really good, the parts that are really good more than make up for the points that are just meh. The performances and the characters more than make up for what at some points can be a substandard story, because the parts that get really good are that much more enhanced by their performances. Now, getting into the gameplay itself, the gameplay, while it takes a little while to pick up, I'd say about 4 or 5 hours to really get going. Once it gets going, it fucking gets going. Once you're able to upgrade your guns and your weapons and your abilities, it gets really intense, because then you get to start taking on a bunch of zombies at one time, and you don't have to just focus heavily on stealth kills. The stealth kills are extremely satisfying, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed going into camps and just stealth killing my way through most of it. But by the time you get to take on the hordes, that's when the game really gets good. That's why they showed it off of that initial E3 trailer. At the beginning of the game, you're forced to just run away from them, but about halfway through, you have to take them on, and taking on these hordes is one of the most intense, exhilarating experiences that I've felt in a game in a really long time. I loved it, and I kept going out of my way to try and find hordes because it was just an addictive experience. Being able to use slow motion is really satisfying. Being able to use close quarters combat is really satisfying. And I feel like this game just isn't getting the fair shake that it deserves. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of technical problems that I ran into during it. There are some glitches here and there, none of which that I ran into are extremely game-breaking, but they are kind of frustrating to deal with, such as frame drops. I was playing on a base PS4, so I'm pretty confident that's what the problem was for me. If you're playing on a PlayStation Pro, I don't think you'll have nearly as many problems as I had. When I went and saw the reviews, I was very surprised to see that GameSpot, of all places, was giving it a 5 out of 10. This game is nowhere close to a 5 out of 10. It's much better than that. But then I realized that the same person who reviewed it on GameSpot was the person who gave Pokemon a 7.8 out of 10 for having too much water. So I guess the credibility just kind of goes out the window with that, because I don't know how she's able to have a job after that Pokemon review, but you know, I guess it's good that she's continuing to get work. But it's unfortunate that she just completely didn't want to give this game a shake, because I think it's fantastic. I'm sorry that this is kind of short and all jumbled and kind of a mess, but I felt like I needed to give this game the credit that it deserves, and I felt like I needed to do it now before the hype for the game completely dies down and everybody just forgets about it. From what I understand, the game is selling really well, and I'm glad that it is, because this deserves a sequel. I feel like if Bend Studio, the company that made this game, is given a sequel, they can fix all the problems with it, such as the slow pace at the beginning and the technical problems, and at the end of it, the sequel would be a really fantastic, almost flawless experience. I would give this overall 1 star out of 1 would play, and on the boneless scale, I would give it 767 question marks out of 275 lampposts. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, don't get me wrong, but it is a really fantastic game that you shouldn't overlook. I feel like you should at least give this game just a slight nod. I understand that there are some people out there that are tired of zombie games, and I get it. I completely get it. But if you're ever looking for an experience that may pleasantly surprise you, I think this is it. Thank you very much, and go fuck yourself.